recording. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself. You're always more than welcome to ask. So we're going to do the quiz today. We're almost done with hyperbolas. So let's go ahead, let's hop into it. Okay, so our first problem, it says to go ahead and write the equation for this graph. It's a little blurry, so let me see if I can fix that a little bit. Kind of better, there we go. So in order to figure it out, remember these values here are our H and K values, which means we need to figure out what this center is. So an easy way to figure out the center is just to kind of, do a little line across, and it's going to be where the two meet. So my center is going to be right here, and that point is going to be, my center is going to be at 3, 1. So there's my H and my K value. The other thing I need to know is my X values going to be first, my X values, or my Y values? And that's super easy to figure out. So if the graph opens up and down, the axis that goes up and down is Y. The graphs open up and down, and the axis that goes up and down is my Y axis. Then it's the Y value that comes first. So I know right away it's not going to be one of these because the X value comes first. So the X axis goes left and right. So if the graphs open left and right, then it would be an X first. So I know then that my K value is 1. So here, this is saying that my K is a negative 1. Here it's a positive 1. So I know right away my HK, it's 1 and a 3. And that's exactly what I have. And that's the only option that matches that. But the other piece of that, of course, we can easily see is that this would be my A squared value. This would be my B squared value. And I can see that from my center to my vertex. So I'm at 1 here and I go up to 9. That's telling me A is equal to 8. My center to my co-vertices, that's my B value. And the distance from here is going to be, so I'm going from 3 to a negative 3. So that distance is going to be 6. So B is equal to 6. So I can easily see that 6 squared is my 36, 8 squared is my 64. So I can also look at those two values, but the only one that had the right center that matched with these was that last one. So you kind of knew just from that information. Looking at my next one, it says that the foci and the directrices of the hyperbola are labeled. So there's my foci. They're saying that this is a foci. This is going to be a foci. This is my directrices. So which equation represents? And similar to above, I know just from looking at my graph, since they're opening up and down, my y-axis goes up and down, then it has to be a y value first. So I know right away it can't be one of these because the x is first. So since it opens up and down, it has to be a y value first. So it's one of these two. Now the other thing that's the piece that's different between these two is my center. So I want to say, well, where's the center? And the center is directly in the middle of these foci. So I could see that it's going to be here at 3, 0. So this is my H value, this is my K value. Remember, H is always with the X, the K is always with the Y, all the time. For hyperbolas, for ellipses, that's always the case. So if I look here, my H goes with the X, so my H, it's X minus 3, this is my H. My K is 0, so this is the same thing as saying Y minus 0 squared, which is just going to be my Y squared. So I know it's going to be this piece right here. The other things I could look at is, I know that my directrices, this is A squared all over C. So I can see that my A squared is 9, my A squared is 9, which makes sense, right? So there's other pieces to it. You could solve for that B value and you would have found out that B is 4, B squared is 16. But you didn't even need that to solve the problem. Again, if I go too fast or you have questions, please let me know. So my next one is telling me to find my foci. They gave me this graph. I want to know where my foci are going to be. So I know that this is my H and my K value. So this is telling me my center is going to be at 6, -7. So I have a center at 6, -7. This value is my A squared. So I know that A is going to be 4. This value is always the B squared. So I know B is going to be 3. So just from looking at this, I'm able to get all this information. But I'm asked to find my foci, and none of those are my foci. But let's take a peek at the graph. Again, you see that I always just do a quick little sketch for these because I think that visual is really important. So I'm going to go to 6, -7. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so my center here is at 6, -7. My X value is first, which means then that I'm going left and right because the X axis goes left and right. So whatever one's first, that's the direction you're going to be counting. So I know then that if my A is 4, I'm going to go to the left. Just sneeze. So sorry. Okay, so I'm going to go to the left 4. So I'm 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to have a vertex here, and I'm going to go to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have a vertex here. So I know my graphs are going to be opening to the left and to the right because the X value is first. That means that my foci have to be inside these. They have to be inside these. Remember, the foci are C distance from the center. So I know that this is my A distance away. My foci are always C. So I know AB, but I don't know C. This is center C, not my C for my foci. So I know C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. We know our A and our B. So C squared is equal to 4 squared plus 9 squared. C squared is equal to 16 plus, oops, I said 9 squared. I was already squaring it. Sorry, 16 plus 9. Sorry, I wrote it already squared. And then C squared is equal to 25, which means then that C is going to be 5. So if I want to figure out where my foci are, then I'm going to count C away from my center. So this was 4. I'm here at 5, and I'm going to count 5 this way. So this point is going to be here at 11. And I'm down here to -7 on my y-axis. Here I'm going to be at 1, and I'm at -7. So they want to know what are these 2 points so I can match it up, and I can see they're right here. I should know because my vertices are on this line right here, vertex to vertex, it's at -7. I should know that my foci are on that same line. So I should have been able to cross those 2 off right away. I know that that y value is going to have to be -7 because it's on the same horizontal line as my vertices. So I should have been able to eliminate it to these 2 options. Questions? All righty, I got a couple more for you guys. So which statements are true? Check all that apply. I really wish you would say check the 3 or the 2. I like it better for you guys so you guys know how many you're looking for. But that's not the case for this problem. Some of them are like that, some of them aren't. So let's look at what do we know. I know vertice, vertice, these are my co-vertice, co-vertice. So my center is going to be in the middle where these 2 cross. So they cross here. My center is going to be here. And that point is at 0, -1 is my center. So that gives me my HK, right? What else do I know? I know that my A value, my center to my vertex is my A value, and that distance is going to be 3. A is equal to 3. I know my co-vertice to my center, that's my B value, and that distance is going to be 4. So I know my A and my B value. So let's see, what kind of questions are they asking? There is a focus at 0, 4. So I have to figure out where my focus is. I can't tell just from looking at the graph. I need to figure out what is that C value. So for my focus, I need to know C. Didn't tell me it, but I can easily calculate it out. Because again, C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. We just saw these numbers. It's 3 squared plus 4 squared, which is going to be 9 plus 16. So from the previous problem, we should know that C is going to be 5. That's 25. Square root is going to be 5. So I know then from my center, it has to be inside my vertices. I'm going to count up 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a foci. And I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's a foci. So I have one at, this is at 0, 4. This is at 0, -6. So this is true. This is true. The next one says that I have a vertex at -4, 0. So -4, 0 would be this point right there. There's no vertex on there. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. I have one at 4, sorry, -4, or blah, blah, blah. I have one at 0, -4. So they were switched. This one is at 0, -4. My x value is 0, my y is -4. So they switch in there. So don't fall for that. They'll try to trick you. What else? My directrix. There is a directrix 9/5 units from the center. So remember, for my directrix, it is going to be plus or minus an a squared over c. A squared, so a is 3. 3 squared is 9. My c is 5. So that's true. It doesn't say a y distance or left and right or up and down. So it's just talking about that distance in general. So we know it would be 9/5 and it would be going this direction. But it didn't even ask that. So they just asked for this value for this problem. There's an asymptote with a slope of 4/3. I think the easiest way to look at that is I just go, I'm here at my center, and I go up 3, and I go over 4. I go up my A value, and I go over my B value for this case. So it's 3/4. That is not the same thing. So nope. Again, in this case, it was my A over B. Sometimes it's B over A. So just count up though. In this case, it's up 3, and this is a distance of 4. So it's literally 3 over that value of 4 is how I write it. If it can be simplified, you have to simplify. So if I had something like 2/4 that's equal to 1/2, I would need to make sure I simplify. And then it says my center is at 0, -1. We already have that labeled. So our center at 0, -1. So this was true. Again, if I have questions, let me know. I go too fast. And I have my last problem. So this one says they have vertices of the vertices of my hyperbola are located at 3, -6 and at 3, 6. So I have my vertices. So let's see what this looks like. So I'm here at 3. I'm going to go up 6, and I'm going to go down 6. So I have a vertice here and a vertice here. So what's in the middle of these two? If I'm at 6 and I'm down 6, it's going to be at the value of 0. So this piece right here is going to be my center. I know my center is going to be at 3, 0. This distance here, I went up 6, and then it's also going to be down 6. So that's how I know this is my center. It's in the middle. It has to be directly in the middle. It also says that the foci of the same hyperbola are located at 3, -10 and at 3, +10. Whoops. So I also know that I have my foci here. A foci. Again, my vertices are always going to open so that my foci is in the middle. They're always going to open away from each other. So since these are opening, my hyperbolas are opening up and down. Since they're opening up and down, I know it has to be a y equals first. And look, they're all a y equals. So that didn't help me eliminate anything. I know that this is my h and k value. So I know that since my h is 3, I know it's going to be x minus my h value. It's always x minus the h. So it's going to be x minus 3, and it's going to be my y minus my 0 squared. A squared over some b squared. So it's always going to be, this is my k, it's always going to be my y with my k, my x with my h. So I know that this is going to be a 3, this would be a 0. So here's a 3, here's a 3, here's a 0, here's a 0. So I've narrowed it down to these two. I've narrowed it down to these two. So in order to figure it out, remember, these are representing my a. This would be my a squared. This is my b squared value. And I know my a value is 6, so 6 squared. So this is going to be a value of 6 squared, which is 36 under my y. So it's going to be this one right here. I could solve for my b, but it's not going to make a difference. You could see that this is a 64. And if I solve for it, it would give me my 64 here under my x. Not necessary because I already know that it has to be this one because of my 36. Of course, if you wanted to, we can see that c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. I know, again, my a is 6 squared. My c is this value here. So from my center to my foci was a value of 10. So this is 10 squared plus my b squared. So 100 is equal to 36 plus b squared. This tells me b squared is equal to my 64. So I can easily see that that is true. It wasn't necessary to have to solve it out, but again, putting it all together and seeing how it relates. If you guys have questions today, make sure you reach out, let me know. Hopefully you guys do well with this quiz. We're on our home stretch here. We're getting close to the end. Any questions before you guys go today? All righty, well, then you guys have a fabulous day, and I will see you guys tomorrow for a new lesson. Take care.